back to school. Steve?
Thanks, Brian. You're right. Meanwhile, there is growing concern over a mega spy center being built in Utah by the National Security Agency. Initial reports claim the agency's new facility would support unprecedented surveillance on American citizens. But now there are new allegations surfacing today about the NSA. Wired magazine claims that the NSA has ties to anti-American contractors. So is there any truth to these accusations, or are they simply being hyped? Let's talk to Mike Baker, who is a former CIA covert operations officer and president of Diligence LLC. Good morning to you.
Morning. Morning.
I know he's formerly with the CIA. He's got CIA cufflinks.
So it must be true.
It must be true. What are they building in Utah? It's gigantic. It's the size of like 10 football fields. And they're going to spy on somebody.
Right. When you build a facility this large, 1 million square feet, $2 billion worth of gear, on top of all the other facilities. This is not the first one that they've built, right, obviously, and they've been involved in a decade-long expansion. So when you do that, it's going to raise the concerns, particularly of sort of the one world cabal group of people out there who always believe that the U.S. government is going to do something nefarious. Could they monitor the communications of a vast number of U.S. citizens? Well, of course they could. Will they? Well, no, honestly, they really don't care what the average U.S. citizen is doing unless that citizen is supporting terrorism or engaged in criminal activity.
Well, then why are they building it?
Well, because there's an exponential growth of data out there that legitimately we need to worry about, because NSA is charged with obviously national security issues, and also a big part of what they do is protecting us against cyber warfare, cyber attacks.
Sure. Which we're all terrified of.
Well, it's the number one risk, frankly. Right. We talk about Iran, we talk about the war on terror. What really is our number one risk is cyber warfare. It would be entertaining if Wired, or the author who's been publishing these two stories on NSA, would spend more of his time researching the degree to which the Chinese government sponsors cyber attacks and hacking efforts against the U.S. government and our economic interests. Right. That would make for an interesting story.
Sure. And the whole idea of a cyber attack is we'd be really up the crick if they, turned off all the bank accounts in America and all that other stuff.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, let's talk about something else that's come out in the last week, and that is there was a leak from a senior administration official that apparently Israel was in cahoots with Azerbaijan so that they could use a secret training ground or a secret space in that country to refuel and stuff like that in the event of an attack on Iran. That is very damning.
It's very damning, and it also speaks, sort of the 30,000-foot level, is that we live in an age when people can't seem to be able to keep their yaps shut. And if you're a senior military official or diplomat or administration official, you've signed documents that says you've got access to classified information. You keep your mouth shut. And people can't seem to be able to do that. But Azerbaijan, very important strategic location north of Iran, and what the leak is all about is the fact that Israel, in its planning stages for a potential attack against Iran's nuclear capability, they've got an issue. They've got a problem. From Israel to Iran, what are you talking about? A couple thousand miles round trip. If you can get proximity of Azerbaijan to use their air bases and use that as a staging ground, what have you done? You've increased your ability to increase the payload on those planes going into Iran because you don't have to carry as much fuel.
So the big question is, why was this leak? Number one, the jig is up for the Israelis if it is true. But the other thing is there have been some who have suggested, look, the reason some senior administration official leaked this was to push back on Israel so that they will not attack Iran before the election, because if there is an attack, it's going to jack up gas prices and the president may lose re-election.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, any administration in this position going into an election would be loath to have this conflict start prior to the election, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You do know it's going to be very, very messy. But the current administration, the Obama administration, has been speaking really out of both sides of their mouth. They've got Israel's back, but at the same time, it's clear they're trying to tamp down, and they're putting a lot of pressure on Israel not to do anything prior to November. But again, you look at
it, just looks political.
It looks extremely political, and I would have to estimate it is, frankly.
Mike Baker, formerly with the CIA. Next time you're at the gift shop, give me a tote bag, will you?
I'll do it.
All right. Thank you, sir, for joining us so early. Meanwhile, straight ahead on the rundown, NBC admits editing a tape to make George Zimmerman sound like a racist. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. So when is sorry not enough. We're going to report, and you are going to decide. And the U.S. Marines taking up a fight with the WWE, why they say this wrestling star is a traitor. But first, happy birthday to David Blaine, the New York illusionist, 39 today.
Today's birthday is brought to you by Charmin Ultra.